All right, here we go. Episode 14 of the What Are We Thinking podcast. For those of you that are still with us, tuning in each week, man, what an honor and privilege that is.
Let's go.
We love you so much. Be sure, if you haven't subscribed to this podcast, do it. If you haven't liked it or left a review, do that. It helps the algorithm and it helps it get out there. Of course, share it on social media platforms, but either way, even if you don't, even if it's just viewing it, thank you so much for being here. And as you can see, if you're watching it, we are all separate today, but it's all good.
Special COVID-19 edition of the podcast.
Yeah, it's epic, and it might even be that way next week. Who knows?
It might be.
So, Josh,
yes, it might be.
Start it off, dude. How's your week been?
Interesting to say the least. I started with, I was supposed to go whitewater rafting tomorrow with a group of guys. 2 of them came down with COVID.
Fantastic.
Another one had somebody in their office come down with COVID. So all those guys had to drop out. No whitewater rafting. Then night before last, or actually day before last, my wife started feeling a little weird. And so
Sorry. God bless you.
God bless you, Cole. So she started feeling a little weird, and I didn't think much of it during that morning, but that afternoon she was fine. Then that night she was like, I'm starting to feel weird again. I was like, well, let's go ahead and get you to the doctor. So she did a rapid test, came back positive. She has COVID-19. So
Woo!
Go
no
us.
Good.
No good at all. Alicia, we love you and we're praying for you. And we are sorry of all the people to come down with it.
I
we
know.
are desperately sorry that it is you. So
The one person that doesn't
listening.
want to sit still ever has to stay in a room.
I know.
So,
Quite possibly the most driven person I've ever known.
yeah, true that.
Honestly, I don't know how you guys even stand each other. You're both 2 of the most driven people that I've ever met. And not that I don't know how I guess you mesh well because of that. I don't know. I guess if you were really driven and she wasn't, it would be a good combination or vice versa. But gosh, I feel like you 2 are constantly going 400 miles an hour until you're sleeping.
Yeah. Well, we are both driven, but we're both very different as far as there are certain things that I'm okay with, like, not freaking out about.
Right.
And, like, those things are the things that she's going to panic a little more on and want a little more control over. So she helps alleviate and kind of calm me down, and I do the same for her. So, because there's certain things I freak out about that she does not either. So,
Right.
It is a good balance. We have a good balance there. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's always worked well for us. We are both driven. We are both driven about different things too. So, if it was the same thing, that might be weird. I could never work for my wife. I don't think.
No.
I really don't think that would be a possibility.
Me and Sam are navigating the fine line, because she leads the guest experience team, and so it's always like, oh, do I tell her that she's doing something wrong? Like, yes, I do, but gosh, that is such a weird thing to do because most of the time she's not doing anything wrong. But if there ever was, like, at this point, I'm just like, hey, Josh, you should talk to Sam. But because I don't want to ever have to do that. I don't think I've ever even had to do that. So, but if that time ever came, that would be weird. So I don't know. But
how's your week been, man?
Yo, dude, my week's been fantastic. I like being home from vacation. I've been out the last 2 weeks, but I love consistency and routine, and I enjoy not being on the road. So, my eating has been narrowed in a lot better this week. My sleeping schedule's been better. My workout schedule, my time with the Lord. I mean, you name it. Just sermon prep. It's like it's all just been a little bit better. And it's been so nice outside. For anyone who is not watching from West Tennessee, who doesn't live here, oh my gosh, the weather has been insane. I mean, it's been perfect, like 72, 73. It's not. I haven't sweated once. It's been perfect. A little slight breeze at nighttime. It's like chilly enough to wear like a little sweatshirt. Going on lots of walks with the dog. this is going to be really nerdy and embarrassing, but I've just finished season 3 of Dragon Ball Z, which was the show that I watched as like a kid, but it was like the greatest action show of all time. And recently, because I just haven't been able to find anything to watch that's like worth watching, or that doesn't freak me out, or that doesn't make me mad, or that doesn't, I don't know, that's even giving me any kind of positive anything. It just feels like garbage right now, and there's nothing to pick from. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch cartoons. And Goku, the main character in Dragon Ball Z, is quite possibly the most inspirational good force that has. But it's been fun. Sam makes fun of me, but this week it's been like a month and a half long process. But this week, last night I finished it, and it's been fun. So, yeah, that's
awesome.
it.
Awesome.
But do you have any headlines?
I do. I got some headlines. Some of these are not. I mean, there's obviously if it's not coronavirus related, there's not many headlines.
I know. That's literally
they're
all
just that and. But I do find an interesting trend starting to happen. There's been over 60 players from the NFL that are already opting out of the season. What do you think about that?
Whoa. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know they had a chance like that they could do that.
Yeah, they're a union, so they have, I mean, I'm sure there's health concerns. They have a chance to opt out. So over 60 already.
Are they going to lose pay for doing that?
I don't know. Probably. Let me hit the article again. Definitely is a possibility, but
interesting. Well, I mean, I guess my initial thought is to each their own. I mean, if you're concerned and you don't want to get it and whatever, then sure. I guess if they're, I know a lot of players live paycheck to paycheck, which is crazy sounding because they get paid so much, but a lot of them do. And I'm thinking if I'm that player, I'm not opting out. There's no way, I'm getting out there, I'm playing, and this might be an opportunity for someone who, doesn't normally get that playing time to step up and to get it. So I don't know, this might be an opportunity for someone else, but hey, to those players, like, I mean, you do your thing. Like, I'm down for whatever. There's so much controversy surrounding the NFL right now with all these people who don't even – they're saying they're going to boycott the NFL because people take knees during the anthem, and that's just so silly. First of all, to boycott the NFL over freedom of speech, I don't even understand that at all. But and also prove it. I want to see who actually boycotts the NFL, like who genuinely doesn't watch a single moment of a single game, and who doesn't watch the Super Bowl, and who doesn't buy fan gear.
Right.
Like, that's going to be really interesting.
Not a single highlight.
Right. Not even one. Every time ESPN talks about the NFL, to turn it. So I don't even know if that – I mean, people are like stressing out about the NBA right now. I had someone the other day, reach out and say, I can't believe in your sermon you mentioned that you were excited that the NBA is back. How could you be excited when they're taking knees for the anthem? And I was like, do you hear what you just said? Like, surely I can be excited to watch basketball and this have nothing to do with people taking a knee for the anthem? Like, can I just be excited to watch basketball? So I don't know. I don't know why anyone's political preference would make them not enjoy sports anymore. But I suppose if you want someone else's political preference to ruin your enjoyment of a game that you love, then once again, to each their own.
It's always the people who say, I'm not that political, who stop watching sports over a political stuff.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you are political.
I don't get involved in politics.
But I don't get involved in politics. But I'm not watching the NFL. I'm not watching the NBA, and we're not buying Nike clothes in this house. So,
no Nike. They support Colin Kaepernick. No Nike.
Yeah,
no Nike here.
And they supply all the NBA players with Black Lives Matters shirts, and God forbid black people's lives would matter right now.
So I'm going to stay in the NFL for just a second. Now, it did say that the New England Patriots are going to be the hardest hit team. They have 8 players opting out for the season.
Jeez. Well, I mean, they already lost Brady, so I'm not putting too much pressure on them anyway.
So let's build a bridge there. Tom Brady, how's he going to do with the Bucs this year?
He's going to be Tom Brady. Are you kidding me? He's the GOAT. He's got to dominate. Yeah. It's going to have the same thing that happened when Peyton Manning went to the Broncos. He wouldn't have won a Super Bowl because he is a freaking animal, and that's exactly what's going to happen with Brady as well.
I think
that's a good take.
Brady. I think Brady has some. I think he has some very good talent around him. I'll be excited to see Brady without maybe the best defensive mind in the history of football on the other side. Like, if we've seen Brady, we've watched Brady be clutch before, but I think he's going to have like a.
Oh, it's strange. I didn't know Nick Saban was coaching the Patriots.
What like an insult to Bill Belichick? Like, what an insult.
Hey, they're pretty respective in their categories. Come on, you can't separate Belichick and Saban much.
Yeah, but it's like you have like you ever like watch the best player on B team get moved up to varsity, and he's like the 6th man. That's what happened when Saban moved up to the NFL.
Oh, he got
No, bro, it's a different game. It's a different game.
Yeah, I know.
You're paying people. In college, you're not paying people to do their thing. Because I'm sure Alabama hasn't paid anybody to do anything ever on their I'm sure none of their players have ever received inappropriate benefits, just like no other college players do. But it's a different game, bro. He's out there winning championships with freshmen. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He's crazy.
That's great. So my only other headline is this. I thought this was a super funny headline. Trump issues order banning TikTok and WeChat from operating in 45 days if they are not sold by the Chinese company that owns
them.
Well,
I don't
Trump
even understand.
Trump just lost the election because he won't have a single millennial vote for him because we're addicted to TikTok.
We love TikTok. Are you kidding me? Now, I don't know if that even matters because all of the rich, important people don't get on TikTok, so their votes probably matter more than mine does. I'm not an electoral college vote, just to be honest with you. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but I'm not. So it sounds so stupid. What other companies are owned by foreign? I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. Is TikTok that big of a security threat? People just put their own videos on there.
I don't think so. But, I mean, I'm a little – I don't know. I just don't understand why he would make someone sell their company. And then there's all this paranoia about TikTok and how they're recording us and I don't know, but like to use an executive order to ban a social media company.
Dude, I'll just be honest. I mean, I know not everyone's going to feel the same way, but like, I don't care who records my actions on my phone. What's happening on our phones that's so freaking important on a, I don't know, the 16-year-old farm kid who's on TikTok. What is going on our cell phones that's so like detrimental to our national security? Like, what if people that actually did important stuff weren't allowed to have TikTok, but the rest of us could? I don't know. I don't even have TikTok, but my wife does, and I enjoy watching it with her. But
someone posted on my social media the other day. They were like, "You're not important enough to microchip." And I kind of feel the same way.
I absolutely feel the same way. Who is listening to my conversations? I mean, God, I would do anything if someone was listening to the conversations happening on my phone or on, like, you know, a podcast or the sermons or whatever. That's just extra views. Like, let's go. Yeah. I would love that. So they'd be encouraged and blessed.
Unless you're Dakota and in which he thinks we're all swine for being on a Zoom call right now.
That's also true. Shout out to Dakota. He'll never see this, but
yeah.
Yeah. I guess there is that crowd, but I don't know. I'm just not. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I guess I'm just not.
Yeah, and so I think, and I don't know if there was something. I don't know. Microsoft has talked about buying them. They have until September 15th. That's the deadline to find a U.S. buyer.
Oh my gosh!
So, because he said in the order that TikTok automatically captures vast swaths of information from its users. What a word!
Swaths.
Swaths, such as location data and browsing and search histories, which threatens.
Google does that.
The NSA does that. The American government does this as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was about to say, do I think that TikTok is a national security threat? Maybe not, because I don't work for the NSA, who decides those.
Right.
I guess it's only because it's a Chinese-owned company. They just don't want it to be, as if an American couldn't give that same information to a Chinese person for money.
Yeah.
Right.
From China.
I can tell you, because we all own iPhones, I can tell you where my oldest son is right now.
Right.
I have his location. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's
Live 360. Let's go.
I think it's funny. But just that was the last headline. That was one that was definitely intriguing to me because it's Trump. And
so weird.
I just
so weird. Elections are coming up, and I'm just praying.
Yes.
I'm just praying that God would send some, I don't know what I'm even praying for right now. I really don't even know. It's like, I'm not praying for either candidate to win. I'm just like, God, let your will be done. That's the vaguest and most appropriate prayer I can think to pray right now. Is God, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Because I don't understand. I don't get it. But
is it weird that Biden hasn't picked a running mate yet? Does it feel late in the game for that?
Yes, it definitely feels late in the game for that.
Does he know he's running for president?
I'm not sure. I'm sure his party does. I'm sure he's been given lots of speeches to say. I don't know.
I feel like if neither one of you have seen the movie Idiocracy,
I haven't.
You should watch it. It's a very telling tale of where our country has come to. And
the rest of the world must look at us.
Terry Crews is actually president in the movie. And he's a former wrestler. So I just like this.
So he's like,
don't sleep on The Rock.
Dude, Donald Trump received a Stone Cold Stunner in the middle of SmackDown one time.
It happened. He's a former wrestler.
He's a WWE superstar.
That's true. And do not sleep on the power that Dwayne Johnson really holds.
Yeah.
He's one of the most influential people in our entire society. Like, he's one of the most followed Instagram people. He just bought the XFL.
Yeah,
he
did.
That.
He bought it, not a team. When was the last time you heard of someone doing that? I'm not just going to go buy a team. I'm going to buy the entire league. That just blows my mind. So
he bought it for $15 million.
And it's probably going to turn into the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think we could have probably had about 30 people to get together and buy the XFL.
I know.
But still, he still did it.
He's a smart dude. I'm excited. All right, so here's our Stop It segment for today. This is one of the things that we do that I look forward to every single week. And this week's is an in particularly enjoyable subject for me right now. So today I am genuinely and sincerely asking everybody to just consider stopping shaming people for what they believe and how they act concerning COVID-19. So stop COVID shaming is what I'm going to call this today. And this is what I mean by this. And I've had this conversation with people multiple times this week already. In other parts of the country, you're going to be shamed for not wearing a mask, for doing that. But in this part of the country, you're going to be shamed for wearing a mask. You're going to be shamed for embracing social distancing. And that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like that, I am way more apt to understand shaming somebody for not wearing a mask or not, embracing social distancing than I am shaming someone for wearing it. It seems so silly to me. So because I know most of our viewers are obviously from around here, I'm going to opt with saying, let's stop shaming people for being safe and for doing what they feel is going to keep them safe. Like in no other arena do we shame people for that. We don't shame people for wearing seatbelts. We don't shame people for choosing to not go into places in the hospital where people have infectious diseases. We don't shame people for not cutting their fingers off with knives because, that's dangerous. We don't shame people for not jumping off balconies because that's dangerous. So why are we shaming people for wearing a mask or embracing social distancing right now? I don't know. It's just so silly to me. It doesn't make any sense.
I agree, and I have been in places around here where people look at you when you wear a mask. Like you go in the store and they look at you and like, "Why you got a mask on, sheep?" And
exactly.
So there's that. I actually had a guy I met 3 times the other day in Walmart. I don't know. I kept running into him. I don't know why, but he just stared at me the entire time, like, why do you have that stupid thing on your face? I'm like, why do you not have one on your face? I don't know. Right. I could ask the same question.
Because I am until a city makes an ordinance that says masks are required or masks are not required, or a business does that. I'm okay with you choosing not to wear your mask. Like you don't have to wear. I haven't historically this whole time. If somewhere hasn't said this is required, I haven't been super intentional about doing that. But when it comes down to it and someplace says it's required or a city says it's required, then what's the big deal? I don't know. I don't understand what is so tough about that and what makes you feel like a sheep. I don't know.
Well, that's called too much TV. Too many internet articles about you're a sheep if you wear one.
That's true. I think people surrounding COVID, it's such a funny thing because it's like people are so quick to make judgments towards people, right, and they have no idea. They have no idea their situation. Like it could affect these people over here who are wearing a mask. It could affect their family in a way that could be detrimental.
Right.
And then me not wearing a mask, it could not affect my family at all.
Right.
And it's like I know people who choose to wear masks and who are very like, oh yeah, we're going to be wearing a mask because they have twins with severe autoimmune disease who are 9 years old who, if they get COVID-19, it's going to be bad.
Right.
Like it's like, why in the world would I say, oh well, they're wearing a mask?
Yeah.
Keep, like
I don't get it.
They're just trying to keep their family safe.
People I don't guess we care about each other.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you don't.
That's a good rule. That is true. Like we don't.
And I'm not saying that for someone who doesn't wear a mask that they don't care about other people. I'm saying that for the people who shame people, for doing so, clearly don't care about other people,
right,
at all. So I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. So I know I haven't done this yet for anyone listening. Or did you guys want to say anything else on that subject before I'm done?
I'm good.
Okay. I haven't done this yet, but I do want to introduce our guest today, Mr. Cole Burks. He is one of my absolute best friends of all time. Cole, I believe the first time I ever heard Cole's name was because, and this is dating back to almost 10 years ago now, which blows my mind, but not quite 10 years, probably not. 8 years, probably 8 years ago, I heard Cole's name because he grew up in a town close to that called Bear Creek, Alabama, which has got to be but Bear Creek, Alabama, and he went to Phillips High School. And the first time I heard his name was because I had a bunch of friends talking about there's no other way to refer to it, but this revival that happened in this high school that's only like 25 minutes down the road, because this kid named Cole preached at this FCA event. And when he did, and like the whole school was there, and when he did, like the entire school answered the altar call. And there was, which, I mean, the whole school, I don't know how big that is, but it's still like
217 people, baby.
So 200 plus people come down out of the bleachers and are like on their knees repenting and getting right with God. And, you know, I mean, like having a moment with God right there in a gym. And they shut down classes for a period of the day because this was happening. Is that right? Am I right?
Yeah, dude. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is that's the kind of folklore that we talk about, like preachers talk about when they talk to their youth group kids about this could happen. You could change your school. And we remember hearing about it actually happening right down the road. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then like a couple of weeks later, this kid walks into the restaurant that I'm working in at the time wearing this bandana. I will joke on you about that till the day I die. He was wearing the typical youth group bandana that you wear around your forehead because you love God and you've gone to youth camp, whatever. So he walks in wearing the bandana, and he ends up giving like a prophetic word to my boss, which all of us working at that restaurant were deeply in love with God and just very concerned about things. So it was like very meaningful. And I remember hearing it and being like, man, that took some guts to be able to do that. And then like a day later, I ended up playing basketball at the rec center with him. And then not long after that, I ended up bumping into him at Walmart and was like, dude, I know who you are. I've seen you. I work at Tollgate. We played ball. Let's hang out sometime. And then after that, a friendship just kind of budded from that. And I ended up getting to give him a really good reference for a youth pastor job that he got down the road in Mississippi. And then I got to, of course, speak at that youth group. But even before that, the reason I got to give him such a reference is because he moved to Hamilton just to be closer to like the ramp, but more or less really just a community of people that we had there, and specifically even probably our friend group a little bit. And he ends up coming and becomes, we'll call him the assistant youth pastor. and literally we saw a youth group go from, 15 to 20 kids to like 75 in a year. And this is in a town of like 2,000 people, like a very, very small town with not a huge high school, with tons of churches, and being at a church that was like very much so kind of like the black sheep of churches in the town. Very similar to kind of how Overflow is. Lots of weird rumors that aren't true, but just very weird, strange rumors that get said about it, and people are creeped out for whatever reason. But like ended up growing a youth group, and then Cole got to go be a youth pastor and just killed it there. But and he was in my wedding. We still talk all the time. But so that's enough. That's the intro for Cole Burks. But Cole, tell us a little bit about just talk to us about who you are and what you're doing now.
Dude, so yeah, I'm Cole. Like Alex said, you heard how our friendship began. And I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm currently at the beach.
Show it. Yeah, it's beautiful.
There you go. I'm currently at the beach, but I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. I am the student pastor at Hope Unlimited Church. And
for anyone who doesn't quite know, if you were here during our last relationship series at Overflow, Pastor Casey Doss came and he preached a message called How to Be a Redeemer. It is one of the most talked about messages right now, like literally in the history of our church. People still are like, gosh, that was so important. Pastor Casey, Cole is his youth pastor.
Yeah.
Unlimited right now. So sorry, I interrupted, but I wanted
It's all good. It's all good. So that's
a little credit.
Me and my wife, we moved here in November. And so we have been here. We have been absolutely putting the pedal to the metal as far as church goes, seeing people's lives change since then. And so I just like to see people encounter the same God that I did when I was 17 years old. And I'll do anything to be sure that happens. So that's just kind of what I'm about. It's what I do.
Dude, and tell us what Anna's doing at the church. That's his wife, and I've known Anna actually longer than I've known Cole. So it's really cool to me that they ended up getting married. I've known Anna since the year after she graduated high school.
Yeah. So Anna's our creative director, and she kills it. She had no experience and zero experience in that department, and literally just learned off of YouTube in about a week about how to make everything run smoothly, do a live stream. She really, everything that she knows has been self-taught in about, when COVID hit, it's like we've got to buy cameras now and go online.
Right.
And so that was kind of where we were, and she learned everything in a week. She's an absolute beast.
And Josh, you know how hard that is. Like, Josh pretty much had to do the exact same thing for Overflow, except he didn't have to do it all in a week. It was like we had already had some experience. So I can say from getting to watch, it was like I never knew what was happening at Hope Unlimited for a very long time. I always wondered because I would see certain things be posted or whatever, you guys had the podcast, but it kind of stopped at that. And then all of a sudden, in what felt like legitimately a week to 2 weeks time, there was a super high quality live stream, obviously, that was available. The social media like Instagram, Facebook started taking off, started seeing a lot more pictures. And then now you're even seeing a lot of like preaching clips and stuff to where if someone did want to tune into what was happening there and see just bits and pieces, they're doing that. And it's like, all of it is so quality, and all of it rises and falls on Anna Burks to an extent. And it's crazy because I'm like, Anna is like an engineer, and she was a dance teacher, an incredible dance teacher for a very long time. And now she's also the production director at a church. That just is insane to me that's even a thing, dude. And I've texted her separately and just been like, you're amazing. Yeah. Like, this is absolutely so cool what you're doing. So I don't know, but I'm just blown away. So how's your time in Knoxville been so far?
Dude, it's been great, man. I've loved getting just to be around the people who are in Knoxville at Hope Unlimited Church. We've experienced some growth, even through COVID. We've experienced, a lot, as you guys have as well, a lot of first-time people just reaching out saying, I can't wait to come. I can't wait to come experience what's happening at Hope Unlimited. And so we've really, we have decided to actually go ahead and start back meeting in person in a couple weeks. And so I've talked with Pastor Casey, and we are full pedal to the metal after that. And it's just like, we're going to be providing masks and taking all kinds of safety precautions and all sorts of things. But it's just like, man, COVID ain't going nowhere till we get a vaccine. And so we're just, we're encouraging social distancing. We're encouraging, if you don't feel safe, stay at home. We're encouraged, watch our live stream, right? We're encouraging all that, but we've got to get the ball rolling. And man, just do what we feel like God has called us to do in Knoxville, with being as safe as humanly possible, so that we don't, it's such a sensitive time, and it's such a hard, like, I feel super, it's funny because the pressure is off me, right? I just do, like, Pastor Casey makes a decision and I just roll with it.
Rock with it, yeah.
And it's like, for you guys, it's like you guys are collectively making a decision. It's like, how do we do this and be as safe as humanly possible? It's just like, who knows? Like, I'm just over here, and I'm like, I'm enjoying my time as being a part of the team at Hope Unlimited, and whatever Pastor Casey says, we're going to tee it up and swing for the fence. So,
heck yes. Well, what has been your most challenging thing as a youth pastor during this time?
So I took over the student ministry in January. The previous student pastors stepped down from being a student pastor in December.
Right.
And so I had about 3 weeks to essentially revamp every single thing that we were doing to make it more youth friendly. They had a heart for youth, but not to be a youth pastor at a church. And, they had a heart for students, and God bless them, but they did their thing wasn't student ministry, and they communicated that to me, and it was a smooth transition into that. And we essentially, as far as at Hope Unlimited, had a tough time. Because of COVID, man, we had a student service in January, a student service in February, and then March we had to shut it down. And so we've had 6 or 7 total meetings as a student ministry since the beginning of the year. And honestly, man, I'm just so grateful and thankful that we've been able to kind of keep the people that we have. Obviously, it's hard to connect with people that quick. The first student service that I came here to, again, it was just not where it needed to be.
Sure.
And so there was about 8 total people in the room in our first service, which is, if that's where you are in student ministry, that's where you are.
Yeah.
It's like totally. you have to pastor those 8 people like you're pastoring 800 people. Right. And it's like you have to do it. I don't mean in the same way that you pastor 800 people, just in the same commitment that you
it's the same passion, the same excellence.
And so we went from about, in that student service in December into our student service in January, we went from, there was 8 total people in the room to 41 total people in the room in about a month. Jeez. And so it was very, and it was all about, the most challenging thing was engaging students that quick.
Right.
And also having the turnaround of like, well, everybody that you just engaged, guess what? You're going to have to figure out how to connect with them in a deeper way because of COVID-19. And our team has really done the best job that we could during this time. With a lot of us working, full-time, 9 to 5 jobs. And then also it's like, what's the protocol for connecting with students during this time? It's not like, do you want to send a message to parents that you don't care about their kids when you take them out to coffee, or what? Like, what do you do? And so we've been able to keep as many people as possible. I think we had 41 people our first service. It was like 36 or something our second service. And then we literally just had our last service in July, and we had 30-something people in the room. So I was totally happy with that.
Yeah.
And like, being that we have not, literally we went 6 months straight without having a student service.
Right.
And,
that's tough.
And it sucks, but it's like, man, John Maxwell says this. He says the optimist, he gives the analogy of being on a boat and like being a sailor. And he says the optimist lets the wind take them anywhere. The pessimistic guy complains about the wind, but the leader adjusts the sails. And I think, and it's just like during COVID-19, we've all had to adjust the sails.
Heck yeah.
And it's like,
unless you're John MacArthur.
Yeah, unless you're John MacArthur. Then you don't do crap.
Josh, do you want to touch on that real quick? Because I know that's a subject near and dear to your heart.
I'm gonna let Cole finish.
Okay.
Well, we've all had to adjust the sails, and man, I think the church as a whole, with the exception of a few, we've done the best job that we've known how to do. And it's like, if you're watching this and you're a church leader, man, good job during this season, unless you've done just a horrible job. Then you
good job unless you've done a bad job.
Yeah, then you could have done a better job. But like I don't know many people who haven't tried to do the very best they could.
Right.
And so whether it literally be like their church may not can afford camera equipment.
Sure.
So they just do Facebook Live on their phone. And if that's the best that you can do, kudos to you for doing the very best you can do.
Absolutely. I agree with that. 100%.
Hey, even the outdoor experience.
Yeah.
Like the parking lot worship. I mean, man, how legendary is 2020? 2020, the year of drive-in church. Like that is mind blowing. Like that's mind blowing. If you'd have told me on January 5th, like January 5th was a monumental day for us this year. It was the day that as a church, we moved into our new building, one that has been, under work for 3 years and been highly anticipated. And we end up having nearly almost 800 people. Josh, am I lying when I say that? Okay.
It was close to, right around 7 something.
Okay. So it's 700 something plus people. And that's from, averaging 225, I would say, averaging per weekend. At the other building with people sitting on the floor and on the stairs and whatever. We come in here first weekend, have like 700 people, which is absolutely insane. And then after that, we knew that weekend would be not worthy to even really count that number because we knew we'd have a lot of people that came just to be here and support it, that do go to other churches. But I mean, after that, we averaged got 500 and 550 every Sunday. And then everything shut down. So, and it's just been, I don't even know where I was going with that. Gosh, what did you say right before that? I just went blank.
Cole? Well, he was talking about how like all the churches like had to adjust the sale and
just having to adjust to that has just been. Oh, I was just talking about how 2020 was it's been such a strange year because, you start averaging 500, 550 plus on a weekend. You're seeing people get saved every single week. You're seeing people get connected every week, get in small groups. We had just launched our small groups. And then it's like, goodbye. You're done for 3 months. I mean, gosh, it's so unexpected. This whole year's been so unexpected for anybody.
We were having the best small group semester in the history of Hope Unlimited Church.
Right.
We had over 50% of our church connected in a small group.
That's good.
Insane.
And it's like we had to shut it down in the middle of COVID. And it's just like, man, I can't wait for small groups, but that's
I know we're relaunching our small groups in September, or at the very end of August. So I'm highly excited about that too. But man, 2020 has it's been so strange for everybody. If it's been strange for church. Josh, you mentioned John MacArthur a second ago. Please talk about it for a second.
Okay, well, I want to preface it. He's a very smart individual.
Yeah.
I will just say that.
I think he's brought I think he, as a teacher, even as a pastor, I think historically, John MacArthur has brought infinitely great value to the church.
I even have the John MacArthur commentary. It's really good. It's very well written.
Lecrae used to call it his Johnny Mac. Are you kidding me? Yeah, dude, that's the thing.
So I guess we'll leave this. We'll open this up for the group to discuss this. But talking about a leader and how you have to adjust the sales and how you have to do the things that we've all had to do and. Recently, I'm in a group on Facebook of like just different church leaders, and there were some guys in California who were like, "Hey, man, like even though we're having to do church outside, it's still working. Like we're still able to do it, and it's great." And because somebody asked, they were like, "How are you guys doing in California?" And some people were a little bit upset, and some were like, "We're just making it work. We're doing well with it." And then. To go to this John MacArthur thing where he finally gets fed up with it and gets tired of it. And he's like, we're going to have church and screw everybody that doesn't like it. Like, we're going to do it. And I just don't know. I feel like that's a terrible approach, first of all. I think it's a very selfish approach. It's we're going to do this, whether you like it or not. I don't think that's how the church should be. But it also ties into something else where I feel we are, as the church in America, so politically driven. And I can't – I think it was John F. Kennedy who did the separation of church and state. I think that was around his time frame. I can't think of a better idea, to be honest, than the separation – of church and state. I don't know why we have to be intertwined so much. I don't know why we have to because we lose mission. We lose the mission of the gospel. We get into the mission of America, and I thought we just combine that, and you can't combine those things because they're not the same.
Right.
And then you get into this battle where it's like we try to make people who are not believers believe what we do with the law.
Right.
And then you've got John over here who's like, you can't tell me what to do because I only follow God. And I'm like, well, they kind of can because you live in America.
Right.
You're not in heaven yet, bro. Like you're still here. So I struggle with a lot of those different ideologies that we have in this country, but you knew there was going to be a pastor who was going to challenge the whole thing.
Oh, and it's great because John MacArthur, one of my favorite things about John MacArthur being the one to challenge it, well, being like one of the vocally, main ones, is because before him, the main pastors that were challenging it were like the exact pastors that he would absolutely bury. I mean, he would go and say that they are heretics, like it's like the Rodney Howard-Browne from is it
Florida.
Tampa? Is that where Rodney Howard-Browne is?
Yeah.
Tampa. But he's, very prosperity, charismatic, very faith style of preaching and pastoring and gifts and, all kinds of stuff like that. He's the first one that comes out. We're like, we're not stopping. We're going to continue having services and it has nothing to do with the First Amendment. It has everything to do with because we have faith that we're never, we're not going to contract COVID. We're not going to get sick, which I'm not trying to, he's got years of ministry ahead of me, but faith and wisdom. And I know sometimes they counteract, but there is definitely a balance there between faith and wisdom and appropriateness and stuff. But, and I know sometimes faith looks like no wisdom, but that doesn't feel like faith. That feels like we're just going to keep doing the thing that we're doing and whatever. But it's great because he's the first one to notably, continue doing their own thing and goes to like jail for it. And then you have John MacArthur, who is, when I say, it would be like comparing the most left-wing and right-wing person possible. Rodney Howard-Browne and John MacArthur are the two most opposite preachers of all time in their belief system and everything, and yet they can both agree on this subject, and that just what is that noise?
It's an airplane.
They're advertising for a restaurant, aren't they?
I think they both can do that and still be on the opposite end of the spectrum, because I think something I just thought of, I think people disguise selfishness with faith.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're like, well, it's not going to happen to us because God's got us, because I want God to have us and I want to do what I want to do.
Right.
It's like, I've been that way before, so I totally get it. I feel like that's it.
It's a funny thing to talk about, especially in the church in the South. And when I hear people say, I don't answer to anybody but God, I don't answer to Caesar, I think was the specific quote. I only answer to God. It's like, all right, a couple things. You do answer to Caesar. You do answer to the government. You pay your taxes.
Jesus literally said, render to Caesar what is Caesar's and render to God what is God.
It's not a thing where it's like COVID-19 in America. The government has not done a single thing in America that has infringed upon your freedom of speech right.
Or freedom of religion.
Or freedom of religion. They have not done a single thing. What they've done is it's a public health crisis that is killing hundreds of thousands of people, and they're wanting to be as safe as possible. I watched an interview the other day. Someone posted, don't you see how crazy Dr. Fauci contradicts himself? They asked Dr. Fauci the same question probably 80 times in one video. And he says, I am saying avoid crowds if you don't have a mask. And they're like, well, what about protesters? And he's like, avoid crowds if you don't have a mask. He's like, what about church? Avoid crowds if you don't have a mask. It's like, how much more clear can it get? And I think a lot of times, this is where I was going with this. In America, I think we are so spoiled.
Oh, yeah.
We are.
We are so spoiled because because if you were to tell a group of people, I have been to India. If you were to tell a group of people in India, you can live stream your service, and if you wear a mask, you guys can come together and social distance without them having to fear of getting their head chopped off. They would be ecstatic.
They would do it.
And it's like, in America, I think a lot of times we complain about when the government says you shouldn't do this, right? You should not do this. And it's like, in India, the government doesn't say you shouldn't do this. The government says you're not going to do this. And if you do this, we're going to throw you in jail. It's like, I just think that in America, we're incredibly spoiled as it comes to what our freedoms are.
Yes.
And it's like, if we can go back and forth about whether it's right or wrong. I think at the end of the day, I'm not a huge fan of the approach of we're just going to do whatever the crap we want because we can, and we don't submit to Caesar. I think it's extremely like what you called it. You'll do whatever you want until there's people in your church that are dying from COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality of it. It's like one of the people who serves on the team here at Hope Unlimited, he talks about how ethical issues are always a matter of perspective and what side you're on.
Yes.
And it's like COVID-19 is the same way.
Yeah.
It's a matter of perspective, and it's like you can say, like I saw someone post a picture, and it was of John MacArthur's church, and they were all sitting in church without masks on, and the meme was there was a picture of protesters right next to it with masks on, and they say, "This is okay, but this is not okay." And I was like, precisely, yeah, they don't have masks on.
Right.
Like, that's precisely what they were saying is okay, but not okay. And I just think a little bit of perspective could help us go a long way as it pertains to the church, COVID-19. A lot of times it's just about being grateful for what we can do. We can have online services. We can social distance at church. We can wear masks and come and worship together. And it's just like, man, that's the side that I'm going to choose to stand on. We can do these things, and we can do these things as well as we possibly can, and we can push for the mission of the church and the mission of the gospel through those avenues without coming across as being a jerk. You know?
Yeah.
Or a sheep. And I guess one of my things is like, gosh, it's just a root of fundamentally horrible teaching, I guess. Yeah. But like people who actually think that everything that's happening has anything to do with the church are insane. I mean, maybe not just insane, maybe just ignorant, I guess would be a better word, because this isn't persecution.
No.
We've been going through the book of Philippians. I'm talking about a little bit on this subject this Sunday, but like persecution is when you're getting put in jail and tortured and beaten and sawn in half and beheaded and having your family ripped away from you and set on fire because of what you believe. Persecution is not someone asking you to sit 6 feet apart from someone or wear a face mask when the whole world is being asked to do it. It's not like the church is the only people that they're asking. Restaurants and everywhere else is having to do it too. So I don't know. People are just crazy, man.
It's such a funny thing. Go ahead, Josh.
Even on the other side of that, the government's giving church special benefits in that makes us look like total D-bags to everybody else. I mean, everybody's so pissed that we get to do this thing without mask on, and yet we're talking bad about the government, and the governors are literally too afraid to say anything about the church because they're afraid they won't get reelected. Like, I
Blows
mean,
my mind.
Governor Lee is a prime example. He stayed so far away from that subject, it's not even funny. He just stays away from it
Doesn't
now.
even
He
talk
won't even talk about it.
It's mind blowing.
I think it's such a funny thing to hear. It's such a funny thing to hear how many different perspectives there are, but it's also a funny thing to hear just people be absolute, like, they're so dogmatic in things that don't deserve, like, they're so dogmatic about what they believe, and in reality, if you put when the rubber meets the road, a lot of them don't even believe what they actually believe.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm
like,
finding that to be more true every single day and week.
When I went to India, they were telling us a story about having church in India, and they said, we have this story wrecked my world. I was standing on the roof doing a youth service there, and there were like 4 or 5 youth guys who done like they had a band, and they said, well, we have 24-hour worship and prayer meetings every Tuesday night, and we have to be careful about how loud we get because the clans here will come after us. And they said it was like a couple months right before we got there. They had just got through with a 24-hour worship service, and they got ready to go do a prayer walk to prepare for their Wednesday night service. And they were going to do the prayer walk, and as soon as they came out, there was a Hindu clan there waiting on them with stones and bamboo sticks, and beat them and stoned them within an inch of their lives. Wow. And I was like, so what did you do? And they were like, well, once they left, we just got up and walked around our city and prayed like we normally do. And it's just like, that's persecution. Yeah. Like, they thought that these people were dead. Like, they came to kill these people for having church. And it's like, man, I just think about that all the time. Like, we can do way more than we think we can do, you know?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's also kind of funny that hold on, there's some planes going by again.
I can't even hear them.
Okay, sweet. But I think it's really funny how quick Christians are in America to pull the persecution card as it pertains to religion, because if you want to talk about religion, Muslims are way more persecuted in America than Christians are.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. Like we treat them like dog trash.
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah. And we think freedom of religion only means freedom of Christianity.
Yeah.
That's how we look at it.
That's a great talking point right there. I could go on. Oh, I don't know if people are ready to hear the Alex opinion and truth. It is my opinion, but it is also the truth on that subject. But gosh, people that hate that the 10 Commandments were remember when that was a big thing? The 10 Commandments are getting taken out of the courthouse, even though we have freedom of religion. How does that make any sense? What, you know what I'm saying? Like, there aren't any Muslim commandments in the courtroom, and there aren't any, I don't know, Buddhist one, like, or that people, why are we mad that prayer is taken out of school? Would you want your kid's Muslim friend to be able to get down on his mat and pray in the hallway? You know what I'm saying? Is that who you want leading the prayer for the class? What if the teacher is Buddhist and they all have to meditate for 5 minutes and think about all the spirits and burn incense or what? That doesn't make. I'm like, it's protection if it's anything.
Do we want that in the schools? Do Christians want that in the schools because they want school to be like Sunday school? Are they trying to push hard for their kids to get Jesus somewhere because they sure as hell don't get it at home?
I promise that is exactly that's exactly
is that what it is?
Yes.
Like,
it's because
we
parents
don't need Jesus at home.
If parents, I believe, and I'm not a parent, so I don't, I've never done this, but I have parents, and because my parents were good parents, that none of my Jesus came from school. It came from them. Parents did their job. It wouldn't matter.
Oh, you mean FCA didn't change your life?
I was the FCA. Are you kidding me? By the time my senior year happened, I was the only reason FCA existed at South Fulton High School. But so no, FCA did not change my life, nor did it really affect me. Did Cole leave? Bye, Cole.
He had to check out. Man, he'll be back. I said the word hell and everything shut off.
Pretty much. It's probably because when he did that, he opened the door to all of the demonic spirits to begin attacking the podcast. So
he opened the door. He opened the door to the demons.
Yeah.
The demons.
More than likely. So they're attacking this because they don't want people to hear the truth, which is that it's actually a good thing that school and religion isn't mixed, because if parents taught their kids like they needed to, it wouldn't matter. So
yeah, people just need a quick history lesson of what happened in Europe when they combined church and state. It's like,
yes,
they literally, like, church and state, when they combined them, the state ruled the church.
Right.
And they put state officials leading the church so that the government could bring down their power, not people who were actually wanting to lead the church.
Right.
And then out of that, you have one of the most horrific things that happened in human history, in the fact of there were prostitution rings being ran by government officials. Sex trafficking was at an all-time high due to the church. And if you ever go to Europe and you ever talk to someone about the church, they hate the church.
Yep.
And that's the reason why. It's like, I have family members who were raped by a priest.
Right.
And it's like, that's what they'll tell you. And it's like, how are we supposed to trust a church that did that to us? And it's like, it's a fair question. I don't know what to tell you.
You're not.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's why people don't like the church here.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
It's because it's so out in the political world and gets pushed so much.
Yeah.
And people are like, that's why you have so many atheists. It's why you have people that don't believe in God, because they're like, this God cannot be real if this is what it looks like. It just can't be. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think about that all the time. I don't ever say that out loud, but I'm like, separation from church and state is something that needs to be.
Yeah.
We don't ever need 100%. To go. Yeah, it just needs to be. We should do our own job.
Yes. Yeah.
We have a mission and a job to do. We don't need our country to do it for. Good Lord. We don't need any of those people.
That's right.
Yeah.
To lead the church at all.
Could you imagine? Oh, man. Could you imagine some of the people who write out our budgets for America doing a church budget? It's like you're in debt for the rest of the
forever.
Like Alex's great grandchild who's going to be the pastor at Overflow Church one day is still recovering financially from the decisions that were made when he was pastor.
Awesome. Love that.
Could you imagine Matthew Page trying to work with people like that?
He would melt. He'd be done. He'd quit.
I think it's awesome because, like, I know that you guys have a good financial guy. The people who do our finances at our church, we're super precise. We're super strict. We have a budget and we don't go over it. We just don't.
Right.
It's like, that's the way it should be. But it's like, for some reason, America believes that dollar bills just appear when you don't have them.
We just print them.
Yeah.
Just print them.
Make them. Print some more.
Yeah.
We want some mo. We want some mo.
That's right. Well, gentlemen, this has been for some people, this is going to be excruciating to listen to. I have a feeling, but this has been wildly fun. And I just want to come and say one last time, we are not anti John MacArthur. He's brought many good things. I'm not saying that he's my favorite or that theologically I'm like right there, but I think that there are lots of people who've benefited from him as a teacher and pastor. And so this was not in any effort to like defame him at all. I think he's done a wonderful job, but this is just one solo, because there was a lot of other things we could have brought up, but this was just one solo incident that we've been enjoying talking about recently. So
let's write a book called Separation of Church and State.
I love that. People are going to love that. except for anyone in our church. I don't know if they're going to love that as much, but
we should write the book.
It
should happen.
But Cole, thank you for being on here with us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you taking time out of your
much.
vacation just to be on the podcast and to do this. So
we're getting ready to go to the beach now. So it was fun jumping on this morning and hanging out.
Thank you. Hey, and if anyone has made it this far, Cole's going to be preaching at Overflow sometime soon. So look out for that.
So
that just became a thing like 2 days ago. So here in the next less than 2 months, actually, he's going to be preaching here. So Cole, we love you. Dr. Chua, if you're listening to this, we love you. We know that you may be listening to this next time I see you in the gym. So if you are, come and tell me that you're listening to it. But what are we thinking? Thank you guys so much for tuning in and being a part of this thing. Thank you for putting up with our sometimes lack of knowledge and just totally opinion-based subjects that we think are factual. They may not always be factual. Thank you for that. Thank you for not judging us. We hope this was fun today, and we love you guys.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Right. Over and out. Later.